All right, we're out here with Baxter, and we are going to, no thank you. Good. Good. We're working on jumping, I guess. Good. Good. Whoops. Good. Good. Nice job. We're going to work on this. And then I know I have some of your treats mixed in with my treats in here. Here we go. I'm going to get these nibbles you missed. And then after that, we're going to work on some crating stuff. Good. Nice. So I'm just kind of moving around. As long as he keeps all 4 feet on the floor, I'm going to give him a piece of food, obviously. If he kind of jumps up, then I'm going to be like, oh no, and start again. Good boy. All right. Do one more. Oh my goodness. Hi. Good. Perfect. All right. So I've got a teeny tiny crate. It's a little bit too small for him, but this one's nice to get in here and just work with. I would have one that's either much larger with a divider in it or one that's slightly larger than this generally. So generally with crates, we want them small enough so that he doesn't feel comfortable going to the bathroom inside of them. He should have enough room to make a complete turn. Like this is just ever so slightly too small, and obviously he's growing, so it will quickly become too small. This is fine for practice, but he should essentially have enough room to stand up all the way and have clearance and make a full turn around inside without being squished. So I'm basically going to just toss some treats in there to start off with. And basically I want to kind of keep tossing him in until I see him really climbing in there. So you can see he's kind of still like hesitant, because ideally when we get him loaded into the crate, we want to just be able to tell him to load up, or whatever word I use load up for the dogs here. Good, this is perfect. Great. Once he's there, I'm going to click and toss a treat out. So in step 1, we're tossing treats inside and waiting for him to climb all the way in. In step 2, we're actually going to wait for him to go in there on his own with little to no treats. We're going to start to fade the treats out that we're tossing in there, and actually have him go in there with no food. And generally that happens almost on accident. When we play this game, they go, oh, that piece is big, huh? Sorry, I need to use your little treats. Generally, we play this game and then they go in there thinking that there is food, and then there's not, and then that's how we kind of get to the next step. I might need to kind of keep tossing some in there. Yeah, there we go. Nice. And if he checks it out on his own, I might kind of do a little jackpot in there. I tossed quite a few because we do want him really comfortable climbing in and out of this thing. He's still got feet on shore here. Little landlubber feet. Good. So I kind of, oh, you do like my treats. You were picking them out, huh? All your treats are still in there. Perfect. That's what we want to see. I might even kind of feed him right there a little bit. Good. Nice. Whoops. Those all went very far. I think I need more caffeine. What do you think? Good. That looks great. Much better than the first rep. Perfect. All right. Now, I just want to get him in there and then turned around. Perfect. So I'm actually going to shut this. Now that we're in there, I'm going to stand up. So this is kind of a separate game. Very nice. So I'm looking for any kind of settling or so the goal here is self-regulation, and that's what the crate forces dogs to have. So the spectrum should be something like we start off in a crate to acquire this behavior, and then we can, good, going from standing to sitting. And I'm going to try to feed him a little low to almost encourage him to lay down as well, but I don't necessarily have to tell him to. Perfect. So I'm going to see if he'll kind of settle again. So basically right now he's at like a choice point. He can either relax and get more comfortable, or he's going to start to rev up and panic, or like get agitated. So settling is going to cause me to come closer and reinforce him. Any kind of like pushy, freaking out, as long as he's not having like a absolute like bad for his health type of freak out, I'm actually going to be kind of repelled by any kind of action like that. Good. So he's kind of shifting his weight a little bit. I'll kind of look at him and acknowledge that a little bit with my attention. Good. He's kind of like shifting his feet forward. So I'm actually going to go in and kind of see. Nice. Good. Perfect. Now, as long as he's in that down position, oh no, you popped up. As long as he's in that down position, I'm actually going to come and start to open the crate door. So now I'm going to wait him out. So this is how we acquire self-regulation. And there's other ways to do it, obviously, but this is a really great way, especially when we're using the crate. When dogs are in a physical position of calm, their mind is more likely to follow. So we call this posture-facilitated relaxation. So I'm looking for him to get into a down position because it's going to be way more likely. And if I were to be able to grab the camera and turn it around the room, you would see every single dog that's quiet. And there's 16 dogs in here. They're all laying down. The only one that's whining is sitting up right now. And so it's really important for dogs to learn how to self-regulate by posture-facilitated relaxation, by learning how to achieve that through their bodies. Nice, good. That little foot that kicked out, even though it was an accident, he's on his way to, and sniffing around the crate is also, sniffing is actually a regulation tool for dogs as well. Nice, so as long as he's got, as long as he's got 4 on the, well, I should say, as long as he's got that, nice, good boy. Whoops, when he pops up, I'm going to be like, oops, good. Oops. And it's really important to like let him influence your actions versus talking too much to him or trying too much to give him the answer. Good. So this is the next part is a little tricky when we actually open the crate door. I'm going to open it, but then I'm going to kind of shut it again and wait for him to settle again. Good. And he doesn't have to go all the way into a down. Once I have this door open, I'm just going to go ahead and release him. Okay. Good boy. All right. Yay. Now I'm going to want him to, that was like not the most fun thing for him. So now I want to use my clicker to get his motivation and energy back up because we want training to be fun, right? Training is not torture. Training is fun, right? Whee! And he may be a little bit hesitant to go back into the crate. So we're going to start all the way from the beginning and go back to the little treat tossing game. Yay for you. All right. That was perfect. I wasn't expecting him to do as well with that. You know what? I don't want to I'm going to kind of rig this closed. He might be smart enough to push the door open. So this game is going to teach him how to settle in his crate, and I would work on building his ability to cope with, so right now, like basically the instant he lays down, we're walking over to open the crate, and the next step to this would be, good, he's starting to think about settling and sniffing. The next step would be to have him be in the crate for 1 minute before we let him out, 2 minutes before we let him out, etc. And also too, because crating is so, I think, very important, to having a puppy anyway. You need crates in place to manage their behavior. The worst thing we can do with baby puppies at this age, because they're little scientists and they're constantly learning and, you know, doing their little puppy experiments and learning like how the world works. The worst thing we can do is accidentally put them in a situation where they learn a bad behavior. So we really want to make sure we really want to make sure that we're basically in control of their environment, good boy, in such a way that they're set up for success and they're never going to learn a bad behavior. He's too smart. I have to kind of actually latch that. It's much easier to, well, I wouldn't say easy, right? It's a lot of work to mitigate and manage your environment, but a crate makes it so much easier. So the caveat, I should reel that back and kind of circle back and say, along with this game, don't be afraid to just say, hey, you know what? I've got some emails to do. I've got to fold some laundry. I got to cook dinner. And I don't want you to learn accidentally that walking up and snagging the, you know, paper towels off the table or pooping on the rug or, you know, all those things is actually, you know, and we want to think of behavior like a muscle. So every time he practices a bad behavior, that muscle gets flexed. And depending on how rewarding that behavior was for him, that muscle can really get big quickly. So, you know, don't be afraid to actually, good boy. Perfect. Okay. Yay! And I wouldn't also make a huge deal when he comes out, like to the point where he's, you know, stressed out, just like, hey, yay, we're out. And then like make sure he's happy, but like don't go overboard, like, oh, we're out of the crate, you know, obviously. So he's doing really good with that. Hopefully he's helpful. My ADHD is kicking in, but I did want to make sure I finished that little train of thought I had going here where I was going to say, obviously practice this game, this exercise, but also don't be afraid to just put him in the crate when you need to. And if he cries, and you don't need to worry about coming in and reinforcing him for settling when he just needs to be crated. But try to practice this as often as you can throughout the day. Good job, Baxter. Pew, pew, pew.